Welcome to Blender Frenzy. I am Justin, and in this video we are going to do the top teeth of our skull. So they look fairly realistic. Of course, it's still a bit stylized, but it's pretty realistic as far as the shape goes, or at least the general shape of everything. And if we look in our solid shaded mode here, and you can see this is what they look like. And if we go out of subdivision surface, you can see they overlap a little bit because that's just kind of the way the subdivision works. I could come up and tidy this up a little bit, which I think I probably will eventually. But the way we did this is incremental, and we did it all at the same time. We just extruded the teeth down after lining up our geometry in a way that matches the image that we are using. And we made sure that we still had good edge flow going around the skull, not adding too many loop cuts, using our little 3-to-1 face trick here. So we got one face going into 3, and trying to keep good topology and clean geometry. And as always, you can come to blenderfrenzy.com, go to single downloads to get the starting file for this series on YouTube. And I also have a course if you're interested in checking out visual effects of head tracking, where we add the Terminator skull and make it look like it's underneath your skin. You can do that, or you can become a member here. There's several tiers you can choose from. But having said that, let's get to creating some teeth. So here's what we have so far. If we come here, we can see we have the main skull and we have the jaw. Now the jaw is what we did last time. So this is what we created. And so we pushed out these little doodads over here. We made some holes and some indentations. And we tried to keep all of our geometry as clean as possible. So we have something like that. And it's probably not the best. We could probably stand to do some cleanup over here, but it's good enough for now. And now we're going to start doing the teeth, and I'm going to start doing the teeth for the top of the skull. And as always, we're going to take our skull, duplicate it, and then take the previous one and move it to our, move it to our backups. Just my own workflow. You don't have to do exactly that. Okay, so let's come in here, and I also have the quick features here, which is Q, and you can just right click and you can add to quick favorites here. And so I did that on several things. So for example, subdivision here, like that, it's actually called real time. Not sure why. So, and toggle X-ray, show overlays, things like that. So I'm going to be using this a lot. Okay, so the first step is to count the amount of teeth and then start to line up the geometry to those teeth. So let's go to our split view, and let's come in here to solid shaded here. Actually, let's go to wireframe. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it looks like. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now it probably won't be exactly like mine. You're going to have to work with your own model and your own geometry, but I'm going to show you how I manipulate things and add loop cuts and all of that stuff to try to maintain good topology with mine, and we work around problems that come up as we go. So let's start lining up the lines here for the teeth. So I want these edges here to be in the middle of the teeth. So if you want to think about it like a face to a tooth. So we've got 1, 2, and then 3. I'm going to skip this piece here, this little piece in between. That will go in between the teeth. And in fact, what we can do right now, because I think I'm going to do this anyway, is I'm just going to double G to slide that in there. So now we just have 1. And yes, that does mean we have a triangle here, but I'm not all that worried about it in this placement. So go back to front view, and let's take this edge and I guess I'll just slide it for now, like that. We can take this one. That's about in the right spot there already, at least in the front view over here. Let's take these two faces. You can see they're too far back, so we just pull them forward and then maybe rotate them out a little bit and pull them down let's take this and pull that down, and maybe these as well. This face is for tooth 2, which is right here. So this is not in the right placement in the side. So I'm just going to G to pull that back over here, try to line it up, and then let's just take this edge here, just so that this is more even up here. And then we have this. Okay, but then this is where we come in with the different pictures. So we just kind of have to kind of average them. And then we can take these and slide them. And sliding is double G. I don't know if it shows on my screencast keys over here, but we can bring this point and slide that also just to make that a little bit more even. Okay, so now we have 1, 2, 3 for the 3 teeth that are going to come out here. Now we need the 3 over here. And the way I'm going to do this is, first of all, we're going to make 3. I'll keep this one here and we'll use this one. So come out into 3D mode here. Let's go to solid shaded, and I'm going to hover my mouse over here, Control R, and then scroll for 3, and then click, and then right click to set those in. Okay, and the reason I did 3 of them instead of 2 is because this back here doesn't have a tooth. It does give us a problem with the loop cuts though, because we don't want this many loop cuts coming around like this. And we can fix that here. If I hover over here, Control Spacebar to maximize that. To get out of this, you can either press Control Spacebar again or go back to previous up here. I'm going to select this entire loop cut with Alt Select. And then I'm going to deselect with circle select, so C and then middle mouse, and then I need to turn, so I need to right click and then middle mouse again, so I can shift select over here. Remember, circle select, you need to right click to cancel out of it after you're done with your selection. Okay, and so with that, I'm going to double G to slide that, and it's going to slide out and merge it with the outer vertices of this other loop here, because I have auto merge vertices turned on. If you don't have that on and you already did this, what you want to do is press A, M, and then merge by distance, and then you'll see probably some vertices that were removed over here. So I'm going to turn that back on. So now we have these 3 here, and then this one is going into this corner to make a triangle, which is fine right there in that position. I don't care. And kind of make my triangles hidden as much as possible and in places where there's not going to be a lot of movement. So the next one is, remember when we created this thing here, that was to merge these 3 faces into one. But now we've created 3 faces here. So we can actually connect all 3 faces back up here. Again, this is specific to my geometry, the way I created this. You're going to have to look at your own and try to figure out where those loop cuts make sense. So I'm going to take from here, I'm going to follow this one up. It's a little hard to see, so I'm just going to hold down Control and start kind of clicking as I go. Double G to slide that out. And now it's merged with this, and you can see this is coming out this way, following this loop all the way around like that. It doesn't look like it's following this over here, and I'm not sure why. I think it's just because the way we had set that before there to make that corner. Okay, so that's not a problem. Okay, we're gonna do the same thing with this one here on the inner bottom here towards, so double G, and then that merges with all of those. And now I'm gonna get rid of these here, X and dissolve edges. So now you can see what's happening. We have these 2, which these edges were supposed to define the sharpness of all of these. So we don't want to change that. We don't want to move anything here. So this is good up here for now, and it still looks good. But now we've just basically continued this loop cut all the way down here, which we could have done initially, but I didn't know exactly what I was going to do down here. So it's just the way modeling goes sometimes. Great, so now we have all of the faces, I think, for our teeth that we need. Let's make sure that they are lined up properly again. So let's go into, oh yeah, I can do Z and then wireframe. I gotta get used to that because that's really quick. But Blender has so many shortcuts, so sometimes it's just hard to remember um, what to push. So, okay, let's just slide these here, and we're going to slide these over here, and we're going to take these and slide these maybe somewhere right there. So I'm just putting these in between the teeth to make these faces for the teeth. I'm going to take these and slide them out just a little bit more to make this a little bit bigger. And then we can also look to see what that sort of looks like over here, and maybe take these and slide those to make it a little bit smoother there. Perfect. Okay, so from here, I'm going to tab out into object mode again, duplicate this, and do our little save backup before we start extruding teeth and all of that stuff. What I want to do now is make a little bottom here so that we can have something to extrude. So let's take this loop here. You can see that. So I just pressed Alt and I clicked one of these. And if I just start to extrude straight away, you can see we have something like this, which isn't terrible for a bottom, but the teeth aren't following. So like if I start to extrude these, you know, maybe over here would be okay, but this wouldn't be okay. So we need to do this a different way. So let's select this here. And remember, we have the mirror modifier on. So we're going to have to work around that. If I Shift S and then cursor to selected, it's going to snap the cursor to selected. Now, normally what happens is it snaps it to the center of the geometry. So for example, if I select this face and I say cursor to selected, it goes right in the middle of that face there. So the reason why we're not having this go right in the middle here, which is what we're trying to achieve, is because we have the mirror modifier on. If we turn that off, you can see the actual geometry is only half of this. So we can use this information a little bit, but we have to tweak it. So I'm going to turn the mirror modifier back on. So let's just come over front mode. We can kind of see this here. If I open up the properties within, go to view, and then under 3D cursor, we can actually just change the X to 0. And then we just need to eyeball it. So I'm going to press Control 7. 7 is top mode and Control 7 is just flipped, so bottom. So now we can take this cursor with these and just slide these. So I want to slide it on the Y. So I'm just going to slide this where I would think probably the best place would be. So I'm holding down Shift to make that go slower. Since I've already extruded it, I can just press S to scale. And now we can get more even geometry here for those teeth. So we have something that looks like this, and I really like that. I think that's good enough there. Okay, so let's save it, but I'm going to take this point and I'm going to just grab on the Y. We still have this on normal. So I'm going to change this back to global GY, and then it's only going to go back and forth. And then I'm going to hold down Control and then click this vertex, because then it will snap basically to the same exact position of that vertex. And that only works if you have vertex selected. Okay, and then I'm going to just take this one, slide this down, and kind of maybe make these a little bit more even. All right, and then I want to connect these. So I think I'm going to take these three, E to extrude, and then X until they merge all together, and that's because we have clipping on. If we didn't have clipping on, they wouldn't merge together. And maybe, actually, I'm going to do the same thing, but with all of these here. And then we can do an F to fill that face. There we go. So that's nice, clean geometry there. And then we can take these faces and extrude those up. I'm going to undo that, and then I'm going to extrude those and then press Z so they go straight up. That way we can keep this back kind of even with each other so that we can take these two faces and delete them. And then we want to add some geometry here. So we want to connect these. So I'm just going to add some loop cuts here, 3 here to match these 3 like that. And then if I come over here, take this and press F to fill that face, now I can do the same thing. Take this one, F, F, and then F for the last one, E to extrude, and then we're going to snap it to that vertex, grab on the X and move that in so that we have this geometry, which we can then start to fill in this a little bit later, but not in this video. Great, so now we have a good upper mouth shape and we are ready to extrude the teeth. So let's save it and of course duplicate and back up. Okay, so let's extrude the teeth, and the goal is to fashion the teeth with as little geometry as possible and then just start adding as we go. So we only need the 6 here, so I'm going to take these and I'm going to take these, I'm going to actually, let's E to extrude another portion down, kind of covering the tops of those teeth. This is going to effectively be the gums, and actually in that instance, I'm going to undo that. I'm going to add this one because I want that to come down as well. So just make sure that we don't have any duplicates. Okay, and select all of these again, E, and bring those down. Okay, so now we need just these. If we I to inset, this is what it looks like, but if I press I again before I do anything, it changes it to individual inset, and I'm just going to do it until here. So just a little bit like that. And then I'm going to E to extrude upwards just a little bit, and then scale, but right now it's still scaled towards the 3D cursor, as you can see. So I'm going to right click to cancel that, change this to individual origins, scale it, and it's going to scale all of them individually. And then I'm going to E to extrude all of those out again like this down there. So this is what we have so far. If we come into subdivision surface, you can see they look like little udders. But we're going to change that soon. But before we add too many loop cuts, like I said, we're going to try to shape them as best we can. So what we can do is select the backs of these here, not the 2 here, these are going to be the molars, but just these, and then double G to slide those to the front. So we have something that looks like that. And then here, I think I'm just going to try to start shaping them. Let's do, okay, there we go. So I'm going to look here and then I'm going to shape it from here. I'm just going to take, just try to shape it as best to the teeth as possible. If I have the bottom one selected and then I press Control plus, it's going to select more geometry, and then I can scale it from there. I got to be careful because I have clipping on, and if I scale this too far, it's going to clip the 2 front teeth together. And I think I'm going to add, and there we go. So we have something like that. And don't worry about the gum line. We'll get that in just a little bit. But I'm just going to take each of these, just kind of, fashion it. And since we have individual origins on, what we actually can do is take the bottom of these and then Control plus a couple of times like this and just scale them out like that. But gotta be careful because we don't want the geometry to clip with each other. Okay, let's go into side mode, and okay, these are down too much. We'll just bring those up, and then maybe, okay, rotating them, but I want medium points. Rotate them like this, maybe. Awesome. Okay, that's good enough for now. And now we need to start adding some geometry so that we can start shaping these a little bit better. If I hover over here, press Control R, I'm going to add 3 loop cuts here. Left click and then right click to set it. I'm going to do that for all of these here. So let's maximize this. Control R, 3, click, right click. Okay, and then I'm going to select this one and then Alt select this one so that just that one is selected. And then I'm going to Shift Alt select all the bottom ones here because we're going to try to do this all at the same time. Double G to slide those down, and that's going to define these teeth at the bottom. You can see if I double G to slide them up, that's what makes them more rounded. Just regular subdivision surface modeling. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to do the top ones. Then we're going to double G to slide those up just a little bit, kind of towards that gum line. So now we have this, which is getting a little bit better. And then I'm going to take this loop cut again, and I'm just going to G to grab that and kind of move it out in front like this, kind of curved, because teeth are kind of curved actually like that. Again, you got to be careful with not clipping. In fact, for these, while I'm manipulating them, I'm going to turn off clipping, and then I'm just going to S to scale those out. And then same thing here. If I press G and then Shift Z, I don't have to worry about it going up and down. I'm just moving it outwardly. Okay, so we have that, and let's see what that looks like. Okay, so you can start to see that these teeth are starting to look more like teeth. So I'm going to take the bottom of all of these, just the very bottom face of all of these. With individual origins, again, make sure that is selected, and then S to scale those in just a little bit. Okay, and then we can just make sure we're positioning them. We might have to do this individually, just so they're not like protruding outward anywhere, except for down, of course. And then let's select and then Shift select all of these, Control plus plus, and then S to scale those up. Okay, and then, maybe I can take these and move them in again, because we don't need it that curved, I don't think. And don't worry about the clipping here, because when we go into subdivision surface, you can see they're not clipping with each other. But that just gives them a little bit more thickness, because there's too much of a gap between them now, and we'll fix that also in a little bit. Let's start to get the gum line going. This is also going to utilize our 3-to-1 face again, or in this case it'll be 1-to-3 face. So you'll see what I mean here. Let's take this loop cut, so Alt and click that, double G to slide that up just a little bit. I'm going to select from here to here, this range, and then I to inset. Now again, if you see something that looks like this, just press I again so that it is inset like this. I'm going to also match it over here, and do the same thing, something like that. And then I'm going to take the bottom, just shift select the bottom of each of these, and then delete those faces. Control R on each of the teeth, scroll up to 2, click, right click. And I can do that on all of those. Now we have more loop cuts we can shape the teeth with, and also the gums, and then it also will go 3-to-1 so that we don't have loop cuts going all the way around our skull. But we have to close these in now, so we can just take these and grab those and just control to snap those here. And with auto merge vertices on, remember we can just, they will, well, auto merge, of course. So I'm just going to go around and do that for all of these. And if you have this on tweak, it's going to be a lot easier. You can just click and drag straight away instead of having to click or box select it first. And then I'm just going to do a little bit of cleanup with these. Okay, there we go. So since we've already shaped the teeth for the most part, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of these here in the front. And then I'm going to just, we can come to shrink and fatten, push and pull. Let's try Alt S to shrink and fatten. Yeah, there we go. So that was just Alt S, and then you can move your mouse up and down. And remember, have your mouse kind of hovering away from your selection, because the closer it is, the harder it's going to be for precision. Okay, there we go. Now we can select these a lot easier. Okay, and then we just G to grab and move those up. And we're going to also come in here and take these. Then just G and pull those down. Okay, let's see what that is in subdivision service. All right, look at that. We're already pretty far along creating these teeth. And really the only other thing, besides maybe thickening the teeth up a little bit more, even though they look pretty good, we're almost there. But one thing I want to do is I'm going to stay in subdivision surface for this. I'm just going to shift select these faces here. And then we're going to do the same thing. Alt S to pull those out. Oh, hover over here. Alt S and pull those out a little bit. And now you can see it. Look at that. That looks pretty good. Even if it's just doing a skull, especially if it's just doing a regular human skull, this is the way we can do it. This is, by the way, what I'm doing here is much better than what I did with the human skull. I did some more testing and playing around with things, so this is actually a lot easier to do when you know kind of some of these tricks. Only other thing that I want to do, which you don't need to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway because I want to at least have something for the molars. So let's come back here. So I want to bring these up like this. And that could be good enough. That way we don't need to add any more loop cuts or anything. But if you did, just in case, just to show you, I'm going to select one of these, Shift H to hide everything else. We can do exactly what we did with the top of the teeth or the gums. So we can take these, inset those in like that, take the bottom of these, delete those faces, and then we can just create more loop cuts like this, and then grab this. And again, this is the exact same thing we just did. Like that. And then, of course, we can scale that in and pull down. That way we can also take these faces and then we can also pull those up as well. And this gives it a little bit more of a realistic molar type feel. And so then it's going to look more like that. So you can do that if you want. I'll do that for this one. I won't probably do that for the next one. Alt H is to unhide everything. I'm just going to take these here and then grab those and just move those up, because we're not really going to see much of those anyway. Okay, and then from here, it really is just thickening these, which we can really probably do. I'm going to stay in subdivision for now. Just take, each of these. I can do it one at a time, or I can do all of them at the same time, but maybe one at a time is going to actually be better. And we might want to turn proportional editing on for this here. Okay, so that our area is too big. I'm going to scroll up the area of influence there. And it's going slower because we're in sub D. Sub D. That's how the cool kids say it. Sub D, subdivision. And that is, ew. Okay, so there we go. These are our teeth. Let's give them a material. So right now they're just sharing this material, of course, which if you want to keep that, that sort of looks cool. But since we've added geometry, we still have to reproject onto our image. So if we go back to UV editing, remember in the first video of the series, I set everything up so that we can reproject straight from the camera. Everything is lined up perfectly for us, but we want to make sure the cam front is the active camera. We also want to make sure UV front is selected, and then of course we have to have these all selected, and then you can see this here. Now it's showing the mask as the background. This background up here doesn't really matter. It's just for visual, so you can see what it looks like behind those UVs. This picture doesn't reflect what's going to be over here. Only what is plugged in down here and all these nodes into the material output. That's what you will see on the actual model. But if I select the side, you can see the side is selected here, and we don't want that. We want to make sure we see the front over here. And currently, since we haven't reprojected, you can see we don't have our teeth, which is why we have to reproject. So when you're ready, select everything over here, and again, this is from the camera view, project from view, and then you see it adds all of our new geometry down here. Of course, if we come back to project, you can see it's still metal, and if you want to keep it like that, it kind of looks cool, but I'm going to make a new material for the teeth, and for that we need to select the teeth. So let's go here, and in edit mode I'm going to, let's go out of sub D for a second here, select the bottom of all of these. And this is going to really only work all at the same time if you have the same subdivisions going up. So you can see if I have all of the bottoms selected and then I press Control plus, it's going to go up 1, and you see 1, 2, 3, 4. And that is the case. Ooh, that's gross. I might want to fix that later. And this one too for the teeth up there. But anyway, so as long as they have the same number of loop cuts going up, then the Control plus is going to work exactly the same on all of them. So with all of them selected, I'm going to come down to our Data tab, add in a vertex group, and call it Teeth. And then with all of them selected, assign. And then now if I deselect, I can select them. And then with all of them selected, let's go to our material. We can click plus here to add in a new material. Call this one Teeth. Now we can go into our material and real time, and it has not added those yet because, of course, we have to go back into edit mode. With them selected, we have to assign them here as well to the material, and there we go. And now we have something that looks like this. But those teeth are a little bit too white, so I'm just going to take those and pull them down towards the yellow just a little bit, something like that. And there we go. So now we have the top teeth of the Terminator skull ready to go, looking pretty realistic. I mean, you know, it's still a bit stylized for now. And we can also dirty those teeth up later, but I'm not going to do that in this video. But this is now what we have. So now we have to do, in the next video, I'm going to do the bottom teeth pretty much the same exact way. So when you're ready, head on over to the next one.